Hello, everybody. This is your boy Sam Hudson from the It's a Rap with Reggie and Sam podcast. Joining me today will be my cousin LaCecila, aka REGGIE Barnes, and we are broadcasting live from a porta potty in front of a Walmart parking lot. Just kidding, but yeah, hopefully this will be one of our best, and I anticipate this being one of our better podcasts. And like I said, I don't think it's a stretch that it will be be our best that we've had in a long time. And in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so to speak, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we are sharing a story here that I think is going to be very inspirational. And you can say that I'm a little bit biased because this is my cousin, but she's probably one of the best people I know, even having borrowed that before this. But what she went through and what she did and how she went about it, it's a story that I thought needed to be told. And again, we thank you so much for being part of this podcast.
I appreciate you having me. Once again, I'm LaCecila Barnes, and I'm related to Sam Hutchins. And I appreciate him thinking enough of me to be able to give my story, because there's so many that have a story just as well as I do. But everybody's journey is their own journey, and I don't mind sharing my journey thus this far. I'm still on my journey, but I've came a long way during the process.
And that you have, and that's one of the things that, and I think, because a lot of people say that what they would do if they was going through something like this, it's easy to say, well, if I was going through it. But when you actually go through it, and then when you come through it, the courage and the transparency that it takes to share your story, I cannot imagine, But again, it speaks to the character that you are, because one thing about, tragedy and things of that nature, they will indeed let you know what kind of person that you are. Did you question right there? I got the question. But anyway, I guess we could start this thing out by asking you how. We can start with your diagnosis, what that was like the day you got it.
Okay, first I want to start with prior to the diagnosis. Mm-hmm. I'm one of these persons that always up to date on my preventive maintenance. So I've always went for a mammogram every year, but this particular year, since COVID, I was probably 4 months behind because the date was booked up. Mm-hmm. Therefore, when I did go to my mammogram on January, it was January 16th. I went for my mammogram 6:00 in the morning. I always scheduled them before work because I felt like I needed to be at work on time. So that was one of those things.
You're workaholic, just like something about me. You're workaholic. You just do not want to miss work.
Right. So it's one of those things. I went at 6 a.m. in the morning, got my mammogram. I knew, I'm okay because I always go get my mammogram. Yeah. But that following Monday, they called me and told me that they saw abnormal, which, I felt like it's probably dense tissue because I had that once before, prior to this mammogram. But she called me in. They did a 3D mammogram and an ultrasound. So they detected that I had a spot on my breast and one on my, up under my arm, which is my lymph nodes. But during the process, they just looked to see was it valid. So then they set me up for a biopsy. I went for the biopsy with my brother and my husband support right there with me, and they couldn't find exactly where the tumor was because it was kind of scattered. So therefore, they couldn't give me the biopsy. I had to go for a special biopsy, which is more in depth. So they sent me to another biopsy, which was 30 days later, which was a no-no. But at the time, I didn't know. But I went to the biopsy in Gainesville. They did the test, but they didn't test my lymph nodes. at the time. So 3 days later, I got a call at work, and my doctor said, which he's my gynecologist.
Yeah.
Most of the time when you, like me, most of the time when you go for a pap smear every year, your gynecologist automatically send a work order over for you to get a mammogram. That's off the rip. You know, you don't have to go set up one. You got to have an order. Most mammogram places make you have an order for it. So I went in for the mammogram. The doctor called me. I was at work when he called me. So I just knew when he talked to me that it was good, because he didn't ask me where was I, or was I at home, did I have someone with me. He just said, LaCecila, your test came back and you have carcinoma.
Yeah,
Carcinoma. And I was like, huh? Then he said, you have breast cancer. He was really like bold with it. And I said, excuse me, what did you just say? He said, you have breast cancer. I said, breast cancer. And I was in the middle of the warehouse at the time, and I kind of basically blacked out. And then I went back and I said, what do you mean I got breast cancer? He said, we got to get you seen about. And I said, what stage is it? He said, well, I don't know what stage it is until another part of the test comes back. He said, but grading it from 1 to 3, breast cancer's got a grade as well as a stage. He said, grading it from 1 to 3, you at stage 3. You at grade 3. And I said, what? So therefore, I got really nervous. And he said, we got to get this thing taken care of. So I see on your chart that you had your colonoscopy done by a doctor at Brownston Hospital. He said, I'll just set you up with him. And if they don't call you by the end of the day, you make sure you call us, because we got to hurry up and get this thing taken care of. So I'm freaking out. He's saying all this stuff to me all at one time. So then I called my husband and I said, he said I got cancer. And my husband started to cry and weep. And I said, hold up. You can't do this. Don't do this. You got to be strong for me. We both panicking and, I started to go and get into a depression. So then I'm still at work. I didn't leave work because that's just not who I am. I went in and I called the vice president out, which, he was always been very supportive of me, anything that I do. So I called him out to the floor away from everybody. And I told him, what was going on. And he gave me a hug and he was like, LaCecila, you can go home. I said, no, I can't go home. I'm about to go back in here and I'm going to go to work. So then I went to the bathroom and I called my brother Andre, because Andre was the one went with me to get the mammogram, the biopsy, him and my best friend Ursula. So I called him and he just got quiet, because the cancer word, prior to me getting diagnosed, my mom 6 months prior, my mom just had passed with lung cancer. And so it was kind of hard for him to digest it.
Take your time.
So then I went. I said I wasn't going to do this.
Do what you do. By all means, do what you do. Do what you do, because, again, the courage and the transparency that you're showing here is nothing short of phenomenal.
And then when I called my best friend Ursula, and she just said, it's okay, LaCecila. We're going to get through this, And I said, I don't know what's going to happen to me, But I still got myself together and went on back in and went to work. So it was on a Friday, March the 3rd, when that day he called me. I can remember like it was yesterday. I don't even need notes. So that Friday I went home when I got home from work, I kind of like went into depression and didn't even come out of the house.
Yeah.
And Sunday night, I didn't even really want to talk to my husband. We didn't know what to say about it. He didn't know what he could say to me to make me feel better. Because at this point, with him telling me I was at a grade 3, I thought I was going to die, at any time. So, the doctor called me later on that Friday evening, the surgeon, and asked me to come in on Monday so he could talk with me Monday evening after I got off work. So I went back to work Monday. But Sunday night, I said, I got to find me a doctor. I got to find me a doctor because the way this doctor presented this to me, and he think I'm going to go to a colonoscopy doctor and just let him cut this out of me, that ain't happening. So I woke up, got to work. I went in to work at 5 o'clock and got on my computer and Googled. I Googled best breast cancer doctor in Atlanta. So I found one. It was Atlanta Breast Care. And I read the reviews.
Hey, Kim, thanks for watching. Appreciate you being here.
I was reading the reviews about and they had been voted best in Atlanta. So I waited till 8 o'clock before they opened, and I called her. And I said, first, let me ask you, do you accept my insurance before we even go through this? Because I can't afford this cancer. And they accepted my insurance. She said, yeah, we accept your insurance. So I said, I need to get into the doctor. And she said, which doctor do you prefer? I said, well, I read up on all 3. You got 3 in there. 2 white guys and one black woman. I said, I've heard all 3. I heard all 3 of them was great. I said, she said, well, Dr. Bowman, she's taking new patients now. That was the black lady.
Yeah.
Which I had told my husband after talking to my gynecologist, I didn't want to go to another male doctor because the way he talked to me was inconsiderate.
And let me ask you something right there, and I don't want to interrupt because this is riveting. I mean, this is great because a lot of people, and I can't say people because what people don't understand is men get breast cancer as well. That's what people don't understand. So when I say people, I am including men too. When you say that you didn't like it, a lot of people think that they got to just go with the original diagnosis or whatever. To tell them how important that is to know that you got choices in your treatment.
Yes, it's important that you don't go with the first diagnosis. You don't go with the first doctor. And if you're feeling uncomfortable about it, you definitely don't need to go with the first one because something telling you that something ain't right. But men do get breast cancer. It's not rare. I have something on it that I'm gonna share later.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But
hey, Brina.
When I was diagnosed, and when I found this doctor, she's Dr. Bowman, and she couldn't get me in until Wednesday of that week, and this was on Monday when I called, but I still went to my appointment at the hospital in Brazelton to see the surgeon. Okay. And my husband and I, it was so uncomfortable because he was very inconsiderate, and when he was talking to me, he said, LaCecila, you have aggressive cancer. You have this type of cancer that can grow fast. It's a grade 3. Still, we don't know what type of cancer it is until the other part of the biopsy comes back. That determines how big, how severe it is, the stage. So he said, but we need to get you in and get you in quick and get this thing removed. So I said, what are you saying? He said, so we need to schedule an appointment. I said, well, can I just get a week? He said, no. He said, surgeon appointments normally back up. They get filled quick, so you need to get on the schedule soon. And I said, well, okay. And then he said something to my husband, like, let me take your shirt off. He was like rude, like, take your shirt off, let me see, my breasts. And of course I did what he asked me to do. But I said, well, what about chemotherapy and plastic surgery? He said, oh, we'll get to that later. But first we need to get this thing cut out of you. I knew then something was wrong because my mama just went through lung cancer. And we know the steps to get to surgery.
Yeah.
And that wasn't to cut it right out.
Hey, Anita, thanks for watching.
So once I got to see Dr. Bowman, I left the doctor's office. I went to see Dr. Bowman, and I started feeling better. After that conversation with her, she brought my husband in and we went back into this room, a lounging room. It wasn't it wasn't like I was on a table or anything. We went to the lounging room, and she said to me, this is what it is, LaCecila. She was straightforward. She said, I've looked over your images. You do have, this cancer. She said, but I want you to know this ain't going to be quick. This ain't going to be a quick treatment. And there's other tests we need to run before we get started with this. She said, she gave me and my husband a whole lot of pamphlets. And she said, I noticed that they had a spot on your lymph node. They found a spot on your lymph nodes. She said, did they not biopsy you? I said, no, they never gave me a biopsy. And she said, well, you're going to have a biopsy. You want to do it now in the office or you want to come back? But at some point, you have to get this done. And I said, no, let's do it now. So she did the biopsy. She called me back in about 2 days and told me I had cancer in my lymph nodes. So again, I was so scared because it had started spreading. And mind you, this aggressive cancer just popped up between my mammograms within a year. And I kept asking her, I said, well, could they have missed something on my images from a couple of years? She said, no, LaCecila, you have the type of cancer that just pops up. It's triple negative. That's after my results came back. She told me it was triple negative.
Now, triple negative, what does that mean? To break it down for somebody who may not know what that means, what does triple negative mean?
Triple negative is a aggressive form. There's many types of breast cancer.
Yeah.
But triple negative is an aggressive form of cancer, a fast-growing cancer, and it's high percentage of black women develop triple negative breast cancer.
Do they say why? Is it so prevalent in...
They still can't say why, but I did have the aggressive form, which a lot of women die from.
Yeah.
Triple negative breast cancer is particularly aggressive and it is difficult to treat. But based on results now, they have so much treatment to help with women with triple negative breast cancer. You have to have extensive treatment, which I had extensive treatments.
It also has to be aggressive too, I imagine.
It was aggressive treatment. So
cancer.
I had aggressive treatment. Every one treatment and the type of chemo that they have is for you. So your chemo.
So there's no cookie cutter mentality to it.
No, it's not.
Because that worked for you, that doesn't mean it'll work for somebody else.
Right.
Again, I think one of the strengths of yours was that you asked a bunch of questions.
Oh, I asked a lot of questions.
You took control of your what's called. You didn't just dog walk. Okay, come, we go this way. We're taking you.
No.
You took it, and how important is that for people who are getting diagnosed with breast cancer? Because again, like you said, when you and I had the conversation, off camera, and you were telling me that you going to that second opinion probably saved your life.
Yes, that's one thing. I mean, when we go to the doctor and we hear that we had cancer, we want to get rid of it real quick, but it don't work that way. You can't get rid of cancer that fast. You got to be treated for it, and you got to, first of all, in order to get through, you got to accept it. I cried and say, why this happened to me? I ain't got my mama here. And she just died with this. Why this happened to me? So in order for me to accept it, I had to say, okay, God, use me. If you want to use me, to tell people about this disease, which it's been around. It's just even me wasn't knowledgeable about breast cancer. I had a cousin that died with it, but I didn't know what her struggles were.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about this disease because I felt like I was okay because I always go to the doctor. Yeah. I still get pap smear. Yeah. I'm 54 years old and I still go get a pap smear. Well, and my doctor tell me I don't have to, but I say yes I do, because if I develop ovarian cancer, I want to be able to catch it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's my choice.
And it's a good thing that you were so health conscious too, because a lot of people don't do anything unless they absolutely have to. That's just our mentality. But again, for you to take control of your treatment and not just go along, I think that speaks volumes. And I don't want to ruin your rhythm, because I love what you're saying. I think we're helping a lot of people here. Talk to me about how important, because I know you mentioned Ursula and your husband, how you're having that support system, that unwavering support system. How important is that? Because, and I want to say this, I always thought of Warren as a man's man. As soon as I met him, and a lot of people they think they got great relationships, and then they go through something. You say from death do you part, through better and for worse. And then when they come to that, then you really test to see what they have. And my hat's off to Warren. He's standing on it. I would love for him to come on and talk a little bit too. If not now, some other time. But we did. You hit a home run with your husband right there. Like I said, you guys are very inspiring. So again, didn't mean to cut you off, but go ahead.
Well, my husband, he can tell you all about the treatments from day one. He have never missed an appointment with it. Like Ursula, Sabrina, Monica, my brothers and sisters. I might miss some people, but since my diagnosis, they've been right here for me. My family support. We've been on a prayer line every Wednesday since 2023 of diagnosis, praying with my mama's siblings. We're on the prayer line every Wednesday. If someone is busy, we continue on without them. But anything that I need or anything, and my family from Kentucky, I can't forget about them. They've been there for me, praying. So many people have prayed for me. I mean, I'm really surprised at some of the love that's been shown towards me, that I didn't even know that people really care. You don't know people care for you.
Well, yeah. And like I said, there's going to be some people with what you're going through and what you're sharing. You're going to uplift and inspire so many people you're never going to meet. You're never going to meet, and don't want to bring this about, but it's sort of like when Xavier got autism. I had no idea what autism was. I didn't think I did. But then when I look back and I'm like, well, autism chose us. We didn't choose autism, and we did what we could do. And in regards to what you did with this cancer, this breast cancer awareness, because it's so prevalent, and what you're educating here, again, thank you so much for what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Hey, Tawana, how you doing? But yeah, of course, we get away.
Yeah, and Dr. Bowman, she told me that it wasn't a one-stop shop. She said, first, LaCecila, this was on Wednesday. We got to get an MRI, a breast MRI. We got to get this done. In the meantime, while we wait for your lymph node results to come back, you got to go get an MRI, and you need to go get a genetic testing. So I'm thinking back to the first doctor. He wasn't going to do any of this stuff. He wanted to go ahead and cut me, but he didn't. So I didn't let him. Yeah. So Dr. Bowman, we went for the MRI, and then she said genetic testing. She sent me for an MRI on that following Saturday, and a genetic testing on Saturday. I didn't even know they did all this stuff on Saturdays. Wow. But I went to all this, and on my way to do the genetic testing, I called my cousin Laura Barnes, who she had lost her daughter to breast cancer, and I told her what was happening with me. And she just said, Weedy, you be strong. She said, you be strong, you got it. She said, you know your body and you know what you need to do. So, be strong. And, of course, I'm weak at this point. But Dr. Bowman, she formed my whole team. I didn't have to go look for an oncologist. I didn't have to look for a plastic surgeon. I didn't have to look for a radiation doctor. She formed my whole team. And when she formed my team, She said, LaCecila, I know you drive to Atlanta. She said, so your oncologist, I got to find your oncologist. And then she said, I do have one that's in Cumming area on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I said, you know, I live in Cumming. So that worked out perfect. Wow. My oncologist was 10 miles away at the hospital. So that worked out. So my husband didn't have to take me back and forth to Atlanta. But soon as I went to see my oncologist, she was like, LaCecila, we got to get, we're not going to start treatment until we get the port put in. Because we don't like to use your veins. And she said, you need the port put in so that we can do your treatments through the port instead of your veins in your arm. And then I said, well, how long it's going to be before I can get the port? She said, I don't know. It might be another week. I said, no, ma'am. You need to put that chemo in my port, in my arm until I get on the schedule. I said, if this cancer is aggressive, I can stand this needle going in my arm for one treatment. Yeah. And she said, you sure? I said, I'm positive. Let's get treatment started. So we started treatment that next week. And then the next week I went in for my port and got it put in. And from that point on, I started treatment. When I started treatment, they was there Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I kind of, me like to work, I kind of calculated. I said, so how long I'm going to be sick after treatment? And then she started telling me, you don't get sick the first day, you might start get sick the second day. So I said, well, I need to have my treatment done on Thursdays. That's so I can.
That's your mindset. That's your mindset.
My mindset was
yeah, but that's the strength in you, though.
My mindset was
that was part of your makeup. That's the strength in you, though. Yeah. And that probably aided in your recovery as well. That's the strength in you, though.
My mindset was to do my chemo on Thursdays and recover by Monday.
So she could go back to work.
So I could go back to work.
See what I'm talking about? That's been my cousin all her life.
So Thursdays I had like a 4-hour chemo day. At two times every other week. I would have a 3 to 4 hour treatment. And then one of those weeks I would have like a 7-hour treatment. Mm-hmm. So my husband, he would always go to all my treatments. And then one day I said, let me just go to treatment. You don't have to get off. I'll go by myself. That one treatment I went to, I felt alone. I felt very alone. And I went in there and I seen all these people with cancer and even young girls with cancer, breast cancer. And I got very depressed, and my husband never let me went again. Sabrina offered to go with me, Monica, all my friends, my sister wanted to go with me to treatment, but my husband wouldn't allow. He let Ursula went one time, but she could never go back. He said, that's my job, it's my duty to be here. But
my head's out too.
But when I had my first 2 treatments, my hair was still, I was like, okay, my hair is not gonna come out. She said, no, LaCecila, probably the 3rd treatment. So I still had my hair in braids. Yeah. And you know, women, we love our hair.
Oh,
you know, our hair, some people say. Our nails, our skin. And I was on my way home from work, and I started twirling my hair. You know, like how you twirl your hair when you're thinking. Yeah. It started to come out, and I called my husband. My husband had already cut his hair and shaved his head off, and said, "LaCecila, at some point you're gonna have to cut your hair off." And so he went ahead and done it. Then I said, I guess it's time to cut my hair. It's time to shave my head. And my brother, he came, met me at the barbershop. He shaved his head as well. But during all this too, what helped me through my chemo is that I was healthy before it started. So when I went in, they wasn't fighting one problem.
Something that was underlying.
In which my family, we have a lot of underlying medical conditions in my family.
Yeah, on my side of the family, my dad's side of the family, cancer is real prevalent too. So we always have to keep them yearly checkups. We do. Yeah, so that's why I always tried to stay healthy, to try to beat the odds of having what my family have. But when I go into treatment, the first treatment, they just thought I was going to throw up and do everything. They put the trash can beside me. It was none of that. I went to my treatment. The next morning, I was back at work. But as it got older and older,
my treatments got more and more. My body started to shut down a little bit, and I still wouldn't stop going to work. I had lost a ton of weight. I drive myself to work. I would get out of my car. I was so tired that I would have to stop and sit on the steps at work and take a break and then go into my office and sit down. And I would still get on the forklift, move pallets, do all kind of stuff, all while I was on treatment. But I started to get slower and slower. My feet, they started messing with me, my fingers. I had a bad case of neuropathy where I couldn't hardly use my fingers and walk on my feet, and I still would go to work. Then it got to the point where I went to chemo, and my hemoglobin was so low that they told me prior to, if it keep going down, they're going to have to give me a blood transfusion. And I just did not believe in a blood transfusion. My mom, the reason why she refused chemo is because she didn't believe in the blood transfusion, which I just never wanted to accept someone else's blood, which is nothing wrong with it. And they told me, if you don't get a blood transfusion, LaCecila, we're gonna refuse treatment. Either you get a blood transfusion or you can't get chemo anymore. Yeah. So basically, I'm gonna die regardless. If I don't do the chemo and if I don't do the blood transfusion, I'm gonna die. At this point, my blood was so low, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get up the stairs. I still drove home from the doctor. Yeah. And then she asked me to go over to the hospital to get some blood work so they can see what type of blood I needed. When I walked into that hospital, I could barely walk. The lady said, "Ma'am, can we get you a wheelchair?" I said, No, I can walk. She said, "You sure?" I said, "No." I wouldn't let them put me in a wheelchair. I said, "No, I can walk." Yeah. And bad decisions on my part. And then my family came down from Kentucky. Yeah. That was the same weekend. And my sister-in-law, Penny, she said, "LaCecila, you got to get the blood. Get the blood. Because if you don't, you're going to die." So it got so bad to where I was so scared to go to sleep. And I said, "Warren, I'm scared. Can you wake me up? Make sure I wake up because I can't breathe." I couldn't breathe. And
take your time.
And then I had to go into the hospital and get a blood transfusion. I couldn't hardly walk in the hospital. He had to put me out at the door. But when I got in there and I got the blood transfusion, it was about 7 hour. I had to get some blood. And when they gave me the blood, I got up and I walked out of there like it was nothing never happened. You know, I had all the strength. I could breathe. I felt revived. And I just really didn't understand the severity of giving blood.
Yeah, it saved, again, like this podcast that we're doing here, this testimony is going to save some people that you may never meet. Same thing with giving blood. Right. And the one thing about the human spirit, when you understand how it's attached to the Holy Spirit, right, because that thing is tied together. But the human spirit is nothing without the Holy Spirit. And like I said, God chose you. He chose you for a reason. Mm-hmm. He chose you because you're admired by a lot of people you probably don't even know, and you probably won't never see. But they'll see, if it can happen to her, it can happen to me. So now somebody may see this and say, "I got to start taking better care of myself." You did. You know, you see what I'm saying? Give myself a chance, because we never know. You know, and again, this is so amazing. And Warren, if you don't mind, could you slide around a little bit? I want to bring you on too, because I may have a couple of questions for you, because and this is what a lot of love stories are made of too. I mean, it's just so much encompassing about what's going on here with everything that's working. And again, with your determination, that aided in your recovery. Right. And Warren, when she just told me that about you cut your hair too, that let me know this man is in it to win it with you.
Yeah.
He's in it to win it with you because when he said, "Come on, babe, I got you."
Right.
That's a love story.
And yeah,
That's a great love story.
and a lot. And when we first started talking to the doctors, they told my husband and I that there's been many people married with spouses that they don't survive it. Their relationship break up.
Yeah.
Because it's too much on one or the other, which I never was afraid of that because I knew what kind of man I had.
Yeah.
But that blood transfusion, my husband, he never would force me to get the blood, but he did say, "LaCecila, you're gonna have to do something," So I got the blood. I started feeling better, and I started my treatments continued. I continued, and then I ended up having to get blood again because I got back in the same situation. Because what chemo does, it attacks your red blood cells and your white blood cells.
Yeah, and the red blood cells, they're not as strong as the white blood
Right.
cells. That's what a lot of people don't know. And when those white blood cells start killing those red blood cells, that's when your strength and everything just goes. Mm-hmm. You don't have any strength because they don't reproduce quick enough.
Right. And so I took this first chemo, then I had to take another type of chemo for the remaining of my I took chemo from March to late August.
Yeah.
So I had 2 different types of medicine. And during the midst of this too as well, being strong, it was sometime I wanted to give up.
Yeah.
Because the way I felt, it was like somebody every Thursday they pumping gasoline in my body. Is where it made me so sick. My fingers, it got so bad where all my fingernails was lifted. I could see all the way up under it. I had to wrap them up. They had got so infected. I couldn't use my fingers, my hand. I was just to the point where, and everybody know me. I love to build, make stuff. I love to use my hand.
Your craft game is on.
It seemed like it just took everything away from me, and I was like, I have no use to be here. I might well just die because there's nothing I can do. I started pooping on myself from the chemo. They told us, about when you're in a relationship, the juices from chemo. My husband had to be careful about using the bathroom behind me. All kind of stuff. It just was just a lot. It's a lot. And then going in there in that chemo room every Thursday, I try to tune out everybody around me. I would pull the curtain so I couldn't see the next patient because that patient was worse off than I was. Mm-hmm. And then by May, my granddaughter, her mom called me and said, "Can Taylor come live with you?" And I thought, she said she didn't have nobody else to keep her. And I thought, how in the world can I take her? And I said, yes, I'll take her. So she's been with me ever since. Wow. And I knew this was going to be another burden on my husband because he had to take care of both of us. But he always knew that, if I had to keep my granddaughter, he would be on board with it. So she's been with me for maybe months, maybe a month or so.
Yeah.
I never would take my scarf off because I didn't want her to see my head was bald. I didn't want her to know but she could tell I was sick, but she didn't know how sick because she knew she was with my mom when she was in her last days. Yeah. And when I finally took my hat off, my scarf off, she said, "Grandma, you don't have hair." I said, "No, I got cancer, Taylor." And she started crying and she said, "Grandma, are you going to be like Grandma Maggie? Are you going to die?" And I said, "No, I'm not going to die." I said, "I'm not going to die because that's why I'm getting treatment." So she started understanding why I'm getting treatments is to live. I had to get the treatments in order to live.
And then you look at her, and that was another reason.
And then I knew I gotta stay here. I gotta stay here. My granddaughter and my husband, my sons, they need me. They need me, and I'm gonna be here.
Absolutely.
And I said, Taylor, I'm gonna be here, and I'm gonna watch you graduate. And she said, well, Grandmama, can you just shave my hair off?
See, that's
like you. She said, I don't want you to be alone. Just shave my head. And I said, Taylor, if you was my daughter, I'd shave your head. I said, but I'm not going to shave. I said, Taylor, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. Trust me. But one day she was out of school and she had to go to the doctor with me.
Yeah.
And when she went in that cancer center and she seen all these women with no hair, she looked at me and I said, I told you I wasn't alone. So one lady came over and she said, no, your grandmama is not alone. She said, I have cancer. I've had cancer for many years. She said the cancer has spread all over my body. And I thought, wow. She said, she said they've had done all types of chemo on me and my cancer is still here, but I'm still here. And I said, okay, my condition is others that's worse off than me. You know, I started praying for people in the cancer center. I pray, you know. I stopped closing my curtains when I go in there, and I started to talk to other people about the situation. So this was part of it. And then when August came, but let me go back to the insurance part before I forget. First, you got to advocate for yourself when it comes to medical conditions, for your mom, your sister, your brother, your kids, your grandma. So somebody has to advocate, because insurance companies, I had full coverage insurance, but they'll rip you off.
Oh, goodness.
When I tell you some of the bills coming through, and see, I take advantage of insurance patients portal. Get on the portal and watch your insurance. Watch everything that goes on and how they are billed. Because you will find that the hospital will send you a bill and the insurance company have already paid them. So they double billing people. So it had me not watching my stuff, I would think I got $10,000 bill when I know I don't have one, when my insurance should have covered it. Yeah. So that's one of the things that breast cancer and cancer alone is very, very expensive. No one can pay for cancer care. You have to pay attention to your bills that coming in that house, or however you get your bills. You need to look over your bills and you need to verify whether your insurance paid it. If they didn't pay, why they didn't pay.
Yeah,
because
insurance fraud is something
Insurance
else.
fraud is something else. That's why a lot of insurance companies now, they make you get pre-approved before they would even do a treatment. Yeah. So that's one of the things I told Sam that you need to pay attention to. And doctors, advocate for yourself when it comes to the doctor. Don't ever go to a cancer doctor or to the doctor by yourself when they tell you got cancer, because when they tell you got cancer, everything you hear, you're not going to remember it, because that word really takes effect. It'll make you feel like you're going to die and you don't know what else to do. So it's always good to have a partner with you to listen. Yeah. And so somebody to do that research with you, somebody to dive in there with you. Right. Because they may see something that you didn't see while you were looking, and becoming a team with this, which I think is awesome. Right. It's just, again, this is just a testimony. So when I had come August, September, I was ready for surgery. My doctor, she never asked me if I wanted to I knew I had to move the tumor out of my breast. Yeah. And that was going to have to be done. But she never advised me to take both breasts, but one was going to have to go. One breast was going to have to go. Yeah. So I asked her, I said, what's the chances of me getting it in my right breast? She said, well, LaCecila, it's a strong chance that it could come back in your right breast. I said, well, just take both of them. I said, take both of my breasts. Yeah. You know, I just don't want to risk this. But I don't want to get you confused that breast cancer ain't just got to come back in the other breast. You can develop cancer somewhere else, but it's still wherever you get cancer in other parts of your body, it's still considered as breast cancer because it could be them spread it.
Yeah. Right.
But so she took both of my breasts, and during the surgery, they removed all the tissue, and they came back and told me that I had a 95% response from the chemo, meaning that the chemo killed 95% of the tumor, but 5% of the cancer was still scattered on the tissue that they removed.
Right.
With that being said, they said, LaCecila, since it was scattered on the tissue, you have to do chemo again. At that point, I said, forget this. I'm not doing chemo again. And Jabari, my son, said, Mama, how you gonna just not do chemo again? Do you not want to live? And I said, Jabari, I can't do this again. It's a lot. It's a lot for me to go back through chemo. And I got to go to radiation. And she said, LaCecila, this chemo won't be as harsh as the other chemo. She said, but in order to survive, then be, just to be on the safe side, we need to give you chemo because we don't know what was on that tissue. We don't know if some of it escaped and went in your bloodstream or went somewhere else. So we have to give you chemo to make sure that it didn't get in your bloodstream. So still, that was hard for me to accept, I'm still working. I still work. I've been working through the whole thing. The way I dealt with this was to go to work every day.
That became your therapy, so to
It was
speak.
my therapy. So she told me that I said, well, I need to do chemo. After I decided to do chemo, I said, well, let me do chemo now. I need to get started on chemo. If you say I need to get it, let's just do it. Yeah. And she said, no, we can't do chemo until you finish radiation. So that was another thing. I started radiation. Towards the end of radiation, I had 30 radiation. I had to go every single day to get radiation for 5 weeks straight.
Wow. 35 days.
Yep, I had to go. And the radiation burnt me so bad. Well, I had 3rd-degree burns on my breast and under my arms. It was another painful thing that I had to go through. But I continued to work. And my company closed down and they laid me off. And my brothers and sisters was like, they was glad I got laid off because if I wouldn't get laid off, I would never take a break.
They know that. Yeah.
So I said, I accepted. So I accepted, being laid off. I said, well, okay, give me time to rest. I need to rest. So then I finished radiation and I started chemo. I took an oral chemo and they told me it wouldn't be strong, but it was strong. So it had an effect on not as much as my hair. It thinned my hair out. Yeah. So my hair is kind of done stunt the growth. Yeah. But my skin discoloration, fatigue, and a whole lot of that came along with the chemo meds.
Not to mention the mental fatigue that probably.
And mentally, I've been on a mental roller coaster for almost 2 years now. Yeah. But by the grace of God, I still have my sanity. And my family, we still pray every Wednesday. I got my friends, my cousin Brina here.
Absolutely.
They stay by my side. And my sons, they here with me.
Shout out to family. Yeah. Shout out to family.
But
Brenda's always one of them you can count on.
I just want everybody to know that my doctor, she said, LaCecila, you did everything right. If you wouldn't get mammograms, you probably would have died because of the type of cancer that I had. The type of cancer that I had, and that I didn't feel no pain in my breast. I didn't even feel a lump until they told me that I had a lump. I never felt a lump. And she said if I wouldn't been on coming every year, then it would have I would have probably died. But that's why I say, you know, I told my sister, I tell all my friends, go get a mammogram. If you don't have insurance, they got Obamacare. Just try to do something
that's what I'm
to
saying.
go get seen about because
And I think, like you said, that pap smear, you know, some people, when you think they become a certain age, that they don't need them anymore.
Right.
But you kept doing it. And again, I think that probably helped you in this journey as well.
Right.
But it's all the money in the world. You know, people like, I wish I had more money, I wish I had this. But you can't put a price on health. On good health, you cannot put a price on that. The one I wanted to ask you, so when she told you about the diagnosis, what was going, what was your initial reaction to it? What was you think? I mean, I know you reached deep down to pull something up and say, you know, I signed up for all of this stuff. Because a lot of people do the other way. I didn't sign up for this. You know what I'm saying? But again, my hat's off to you. And a man's man is what I've always called you. But yeah, could you speak to you know how the support that you gave, or where did the strength to that come from?
Well, you know, glory to God, we're both still here.
Absolutely.
When she called me and told me I was at work in a production meeting, I got up, answered the phone.
Take your time, man. Take your time.
When she told me, gave me the news, I couldn't hold it together. But she told me I had to be strong for her. And at that moment, I knew what my duties were going to be. So I had to be strong for her. So I had to put my emotions to the side and put my big boy pants on.
That's what I'm talking about.
Take care of
That's what I'm
business.
talking about.
So I accepted it. She accepted for what it was. And I knew moving forward, it was going to be a journey. A lot of times, the toughest thing is trying to figure out what to say.
Yeah.
So the smartest thing is not to say anything.
You about to say sometimes the best thing you can say one is nothing.
yeah, my husband, Warren, he would hear me upstairs crying, and he'd text me. He wouldn't come up. He would just text me and tell me something or spiritual things.
Yeah.
Because it was so hard, and me being independent, I felt like I'm putting way too much on him. And it was just hard for me to accept him having to wait on me. You know, he cleaned the house, he cut the grass, he cooked the food, he washed the dishes, he take care of Taylor, he do homework with her, he did all that stuff. And my sister said, it's okay. At some point, you got to let somebody take care of you. And my son say, Mama, it's okay. Let somebody take care of you for a change. You know, but this cancer, it's not easy. I still have to go to the doctor for 5 years. I have to see my oncologist every 3 months. And my breast cancer doctor, my breast surgeon, I have to see her every 6 months. Yeah. Because, you know, you're really not out of the woods because it could come back within the 5 years. Yeah. I try not to focus on that because if I keep focusing on that, then I feel like I'm losing. But, you know, I'm human. I'm scared. And sometimes I get scared. Any little pain on my body, I get paranoid. But triple negative breast cancer is aggressive. And when I read pamphlets and stuff, it'll tell you that triple negative breast cancer, most black women, they die from it. But because of that, they're not getting seen they don't get tested, they don't catch it early. Me, I feel like I did everything I was supposed to do. So, and I continue to go to the doctor. I took the treatment. I had to take immunotherapy treatment. On top of that, and immunotherapy is supposed to help with, the survival rate.
Yeah.
And when I went in, they wanted me to do a trial because so many black women refuse to do trial studies. They don't want to be feeling like a guinea pig or whatever.
Yeah.
But I did the trial study for Keytruda immunotherapy because they didn't know how the therapy affect black women.
Yeah.
Because us black women, we don't want to do that. So I did the trial, and she said, we're going to give you money. I said, you don't have to give me money. I just need to know what will help us black women because we want to live too.
Absolutely.
But doctors are less likely to offer extended treatments to black women or low income patients. So
Because they can't make any money off of it.
right.
And that's sad that lives come down to dollars and cents. That's
Right,
crazy
and
to me.
not all black women are low income or uninsured. So, I mean, it's a stereotype thing too as well. And I'm not saying this. I've experienced it.
Right.
I've experienced it. Like the lady, when I told her I had this particular insurance, once I got laid off, I got on my husband's insurance.
Yeah.
She didn't even check it at the thing. She didn't even check it. She said, oh, this is just disability insurance. I said, this is not disability insurance. And she says, oh, we got financial assistance for you. I mean, if you want financial assistance. I said, hold up.
She automatically stereotyped you.
Yeah.
She automatically stereotyped
And
me.
see, with all that you already going through, you need that.
Right.
She was like, you don't need that.
Yeah.
No, so
And that's what unprofessional.
that's
too,
why
man.
you gotta be professional about it. You don't have to fuss with the doctors or the people at the reception desk. You just gotta let them know you know what you're talking about. Even when I would go in for treatment, one nurse would do my chemo one way, and the other nurse would try to rush through it, and the bag wouldn't even be empty, and try to stop it because she ready to go home. I said, hold up, let me tell you something. There's a process to this. And you need to follow the process because this is my body.
Absolutely.
If this medicine's supposed to be going to my body, the whole bag, then you need to let it go. You don't need to be rushing on me. So those are the type of things that you got to pay attention to when you're in there. You're only shortchanging yourself. If you're not getting all the medicine that you need to go in your body, then what good is it? So you got to pay attention when you go in there what they're doing because there's some nurses that really don't care. They're to get that money and go home. And that is the God having truth. My husband and myself have seen this.
Yeah.
Even from me going to the bathroom while I'm on treatment, one doctor will unhook me and one doctor say I wasn't supposed to be unhooked. I'm supposed to go in with the IV in my arm. No, the IV in my chest.
Yeah.
Push the whole thing.
Hey, Sarah.
So, my thing is pay attention to what they doing to you in that doctor's office.
Right.
Because one could be not giving you what you're supposed to have. And just being mindful, Sam, I just think being mindful of your insurance, what your insurance cover, and how the doctor treats you, and asking questions because there's a lot. You gotta have someone with you because these words and terminology that they're using, you'll forget.
And that's so important. And it's one thing about getting back to what you were saying about nurses just halfway doing their job. My wife is an LPN, and she's one of them. She will go above and beyond. Shout out to you, my wife. She's an excellent nurse. I mean, she cares about people. I mean, I don't care what somebody calls. She works in the hospice field. And if somebody calls You know, she could have been out there. She had just drug home about 9, 10 o'clock after leaving at 7 o'clock that morning.
Right.
But if somebody called her like on the way home, then she has driven over an hour to go back to another patient because somebody didn't do what they were supposed to, or they needed her to do something else. Mm-hmm. And that's how I know she speaks to the kind of person that she is, because she cares about people. And those are the nurses are the few far between, and you have to, the fact that you have to hold one accountable, that's kind of sad when you think about it. But it speaks to what you're saying, because you educating some people here, because a lot of people would just take that.
Right.
They would, and you advocating and telling people you don't have to put over there, hey, you're not supposed to do it this way. You're supposed to do it that way.
Yeah.
You got to pay attention. Hey, because like you said, they're just trying to get home. We understand that you're human, but this is a job. This is your job. That you
Right, and not just it's not just processes on your job. It's processes in the medical field. Yeah. Processes are put in place to eliminate mistakes.
Yes.
So you got to make sure the process being followed on you. You know, it's your body, and just get women, men too. Men die from breast cancer, like 580 something a year die, men with breast cancer. Yeah. And I've educated my 2 sons since I had it. I've been talking to Jabari and Marquavis about giving blood, because blood helped me stay. It saves lives.
Absolutely, it does.
Give blood, and also check their breasts. If they feel something weird, just go get tested. I mean, because men don't get mammograms, so that's the bad side for them. You gotta be feeling for yourself, you know, and see if you find a lump on it, hump under your nose, limp under your nose.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you go, if a doctor is halfway decent, he'll ask you, or do you have any concerns? And that could be something that you could start telling them, and men can start telling them now, yeah, I need you to check me for breast cancer. Because a lot of people don't know, well, they may or may not know. Remember the talk show host Montel Williams?
Yes.
He had breast cancer.
Right.
He's a breast cancer survivor. So, man, it's not, you know, nothing crazy. It has nothing to do with your manhood about getting, you know, checking for breast cancer. It's about you living.
And then,
what it is now.
And then going through all this, I had a breast cancer survivor that kind of stuck by me and helped me out. Susan Hendricks, a lot of people know Susan. She's a breast cancer survivor. Yeah. And she talked to me all the time. You know, when I call her, I needed to, you know, to talk to her or some questions about how I was feeling. She was there to help me out. It's always good to talk to somebody that has experienced it. A person that hasn't experienced breast cancer can't tell you about it. Right. You know, they might can tell you, like Warren can tell you about some things I went through, but he can't tell you how I feel.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
You know, and a lot of time people say, "Oh, you look so good. You know, you looking good," but you know, the inside of me, you know, wasn't always feeling too good. But I have had tremendous support from my Falcon friends, my husband, my friends, my family, people I don't know.
My brother gonna say something about them Falcons. Right now.
Some people that, you know, on Facebook, they'll inbox me. They don't personally know my phone number, but they always talk to me and give me encouraging words. To God be the glory. I'm back at work. It's been 1 year since I worked. I have never, ever went that long without working. Okay. I feel good about it. I'm still a little bit slow, but I'm doing much better, because breast cancer, the treatments will cause you to be fatigued, and that's a lot of things that I'll have to overcome.
And a lot of stuff, and you just got to be built back up. We got some questions in the chat here from Tona Brent. She says, LaCecila, what would you recommend that we as black women do to better educate and or encourage other black women about pre-screenings?
We should do like what I'm doing now on a podcast. Talk about it. Yeah. And black women that have breast cancer or had breast cancer, don't be afraid to talk about it. I am a private person, and everybody that's been in a part of my life know I'm private. Yes. But when it came to this, I felt like I have to do something, because if God gave this to me, I got to give it to somebody else. I got to, I got to tell somebody what's going on.
And that's
You got to educate. You need to have seminars.
all of that. And
All this stuff. If you got a church, get your church to get a mammogram bus out there. If that's the only way you're gonna get the community women to come out and get a breast exam.
Yeah. And here's the thing: you can partner with some people and have it where it'll come every 3 months.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Maybe have an event because, like, Autism Awareness Month is in April, but if you have a child with autism awareness is every month.
Right.
So now breast cancer is not just a month. Now it's everyday life. It's become a part of what you do and advocate. And that was because when you and I were talking off camera, and what we were saying was that, and what I was telling you, because I always try to encourage you too. And I just tell you that sometimes, because this is how I look at it with my son, Xavier, you're not going through it for yourself. You're going through it for somebody else. You're trailblazers for somebody else, because to get back to what you were saying, now you can be Susan Hendricks for somebody. You see what I'm saying? So now there's you and Miss Susan Hendricks. Shout out to Susan Hendricks. And like I said, when Xavier was diagnosed with autism, I didn't know anything. We were just completely lost, but I dove in head first, and he was diagnosed at 2. But now I get phone calls and emails and text messages and podcast requests to talk about, my experience, raising an autistic child, and what it entailed. Because when we went with him, it was the same thing. Because he was displaying behavior that if he was autistic, he wasn't supposed to be able to do it. And I just had to just basically tell Dr. Rubin, I was like, look, if you don't know, you don't know. I said, I understand you got your degrees of that, but if you don't know, ain't nothing wrong with that. I said, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're Team Xavier now.
Right.
And Team, what's your last name again?
Gertrude.
I don't know why I can't remember. I want to call you Bertrand. But Team Bertrand here, you guys are winners. And it's like I was telling you, my cousin is an author, and she hasn't chimed in yet, but we're doing a contest. She's a published author, and we did. And like I said, I don't know how you feel about this, but like I said, think about it. But I'm going to put you guys in touch. There's a book that needs to come out of this. You see what I'm saying?
It's a lot to the story.
That's what I'm saying, because we can only touch on it here on the podcast. 2-3 hours doesn't even begin to tell the story.
I'm kind of touching on it just here and there.
She could be a ghostwriter for you. I'm trying to put this thing together for you.
Yeah.
And Warren, your perspective should be in that book as well, because you did everything right as well.
Yeah.
And you did and there's no hope. You did, brother. You did everything right. And it was so valuable, being who you were in this journey with her. And I think she would tell you the same thing. And when I was really hesitant about asking you to do this with, because I know, like you said, I grew up, you're a private person. You always have been. Right. But you've always been a person that I admired. And like I said, you've always been a family type person. And I just thought that this could help so many people, because that's why I do the Xavier's Journey podcast, because somebody's getting that diagnosis every day about my child got autism, and they're frightened. And they don't know what to do, and you just say, he'll grow out of it, or she'll do it later. Next thing you know, they're 9 years old and they're putting drugs in them and all this other stuff, But but your story here is like it's nothing short of amazing. And just continue on.
Yeah, and just also women, they start testing if you have a family history of it.
Yeah. Find
out in your family. You can start getting mammogram as early as 35.
Wow.
I started at 45 on the dot. Getting mammogram when I was able to get mammogram. So just start getting mammograms when Yeah. And always just do the feel yourself. Go to the doctor. It's not an easy pill to swallow, but it's something that you got to accept in order to fix it. You got to accept it.
I cannot thank you enough for what you do.
Just remember too that black women, we got to be more active,
Yeah.
proactive about our bodies and our health. And I feel like if I wasn't that one that exercised a lot like I used to,
Yeah.
this could have been a little bit worse than what it is now.
Absolutely. Like I said, because you were such a health conscious person.
And now I'm trying to change my diet because to this day I cannot figure out why. I mean, they don't know why. They say when they list these things that could have caused me to develop breast cancer.
Yeah.
I'm none of the above.
Yeah.
And see, and that's the thing.
So, and I don't have nobody. Yeah, Sequina was my cousin, but when I list all the relatives, when they consider as a relative having the breast cancer, that means your first cousin or your mom, sister, daddy, uncle, grandmama, not your second, third, fourth cousins.
See, and that's the thing. Even in my family, like I said, on my dad's side of the family, it's real prevalent. My granddad and about 3 of his kids died from cancer, so it's prevalent on our side. So getting checkups, yearly physicals is what the men do. But I think going forward, even with just knowing what you just told me, there's some stuff I got to change too, because it is so prevalent. On like I said, on my dad's side of the family, like I said, my 3 aunts, 2 of my uncles, and my granddad, just 5 kids. Five of the kids died from cancer. So, and he was 79 when he passed.
And ladies, also, don't be afraid to have your breasts removed. Both breasts removed. I had a coworker too. She's a 2-time breast survivor. She said the first time she just had 1 breast removed, and a few years later came in the other breast. And she said she just wished she would have just had both. She had to go through the whole thing again. That was one of the reasons why I chose to have a bilateral mastectomy. It's because of that. Right. And trying to preserve the nipples. I mean, we on air or whatever. And when you get diagnosed with that and she telling you what you need to do, trying to preserve the nipples serve no purpose. What they do is cancer can be even worse when you have the nipple. Something about the nipple, so it's good to just get them taken off. I don't want to tell anybody what to do because it's their body, but when getting diagnosed with breast cancer, your breast is not that important anymore.
Right.
It's not more important than life.
It's not more important than life. One thing about this have brought me closer to God. I've learned somewhat of patience. I'm still not where I need to be when it comes to patience.
None of us
but when it comes to healing, I'm patient with that. But I've gotten closer to God, and my close friends have gotten closer. It even have brought one of my old friends back into my life.
See,
it
served a great purpose.
Yeah,
and that was one, and that's what I said about my son. And some people know this about me, some people don't. I didn't believe in God till my son was diagnosed with autism, and then I saw some stuff that was going on, and then I said it can't be anybody but God. So, in my testimony, my son probably saved my soul. Right. Because I got so much closer to God. I say it without any embarrassment about it. I'm a man of faith. Right. And when I see what you went through, and let me tell you, my granddad told me that time when I had to speak at my mom's funeral. And he called me when I got to him. He said, "Let me tell you something, son." He said, "That was strong what you did." He said, "But you are not that strong by yourself. God got you."
Yeah.
I always
thought he told me that, and this was at a time when and like I said, at that time I didn't believe in God. But when he told me that, and he just told me, he said, Amos Hutchins, shout out to my granddad. That's what he told me.
When you say this, people will always come to me and say, "You strong, you got this."
No, the comments are full of that.
Yeah,
but how strong you are.
But this because of who I am. But you got to understand too that a strong person fall weak.
Oh, yeah.
They fall weak, and when people would say, "You strong,"
that was what they saw.
Right.
But you don't. I'm weak.
Yeah.
I'm weak. I'm still weak.
Yeah.
And I'm battling with my emotions. I'm still weak. As I read about cancer, I could possibly get it again. I could possibly die. So I'm strong, but I'm still weak.
Yeah.
I'm still fighting. I'm still battling my emotions. I don't know how to put it. You know, I had breast cancer. I'm still under doctor's care. So I'm not out of the wind, but I don't have cancer. I claimed it when they took my breast out. Not even after the second chemo.
Yeah.
I claimed it when they took it out. I said, I'm gonna take this chemo, but I know I don't have cancer.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna take this chemo because my sons, they need me here just in case. And my husband said, LaCecila, just for precaution, just take the chemo. I took the chemo. I don't have it, but I'm weak sometimes. Yes, I can do everything. I'm a hard worker. I can take care of myself. I can take care of my husband if something were to happen to him. But I'm still human.
Yeah, you're still on a journey.
I'm
Listen,
still
you
human.
You still are on a journey, but always know you're winning.
Right.
You guys are absolutely winning.
And any breast cancer woman that you know done been through this, they are strong women.
Yes.
Because to go through this horrible disease where you lose everything, you can't be nothing but strong. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not a speaker. I'm not the person to speak, but I can
you're
tell
doing
this.
fine.
I
Trust
can
me,
tell this.
trust me, you're doing fine. This is going to be just what I thought it was. I can already see. You know, I'm getting more than 1,000 views on this thing on my YouTube channel. I can already see that. Right. After this thing airs, and like I said, you'll have it. You can share it with your people. And like I say, I'm gonna hook you up with my cousin.
And if I get one person, I feel like if I can get one person to go get seen about, or get a mammogram, or take this for what it's worth, I feel like I've done something.
You have.
No, I found out last weekend, talking to my classmate who she talked to me. She inboxed me because she got diagnosed with aggressive cancer, breast cancer.
Wow.
We went to school together, elementary school, Holstenbach. Where I was probably one black out of 100 students there. So I was close to all of them. And she told me last week, she said, LaCecila, she appreciated me talking to her because she was weak too. When she was going through chemo, she felt weak. She said, I'm not strong like you, LaCecila. I said, Jennifer, I wasn't strong either. I understand what you're saying, but you have to fight.
You have to reach down,
so she
reach
tells
within
me,
yourself because it's in there.
told
God gave
me,
it to you. You're not missing anything. God gave it to you.
Right. She
it's
told
just
me
for you to connect to it.
She told me, LaCecila, 4 of us got breast cancer. All of us was close.
Isn't that something?
4 of us.
Isn't that something?
In Holstenbach got breast cancer, and we all 4 of us was in Girl Scout. We did camping together. We did all these things together when I was growing up. Even my mom would go camping with us. Yeah. They knew, my mom, if she was here today, if I called their name, she would know it, each and every one of them.
Yeah.
All of them had breast cancer. And one, Brandy, one of them was my friend, Brandy, and we was real close. She said, LaCecila, she lost her battle to breast cancer. So I got thrown off again last weekend, you know, but if it wasn't for Facebook, I would have been lost contacts with those are my friends, my elementary school friends. Those are my friends. Yeah.
And the one you played in the dirt with, them
just by her contacting me and asking me about what surgery was gonna be like. Should she do this or should she do that? I felt good. I felt good
to be able to tell her that. Like I said, you're Susan Hendricks now.
And I
now
told
we got more.
And she said, LaCecila, I'm scared about surgery. I said, Jennifer, surgery is nothing compared to chemo. Right. If you got through chemo, surgery is a breeze. You may feel different, you know, but surgery is nothing like chemo. Chemo is like the devil.
I've heard people describe
and they call the the last treatment I got, the medication was called the Red Devil.
Ooh.
And it nearly took me off my feet.
What a name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was red. The medicine was red.
Yeah.
So it's an experience. Okay, and a lot of people see that I didn't ring the bell. I rung the bell the first time.
Yeah.
And when I finished radiation, they asked me to ring the bell. I wouldn't ring it.
Why?
I said, I can't ring this bell again. I was scared to ring the bell. And then when I finished my second chemo, they said, LaCecila, you want to ring the bell? I said, no. I rung the bell one time. I ain't ringing it again. Because I felt like I was let down when I rung the bell. And then they tell me I got to do chemo again. I still, so
you didn't want to build yourself up and let yourself back down.
I did.
Yeah. That's understandable.
And they say, did you ring the bell? I said, no, I can't ring it again. My God got me.
There you go.
The bell ain't got me.
Yeah. It's not
That
about
bell,
it ain't about the bell.
it ain't about the bell. Right now, my mental state, and God got me. I'm not ringing the bell again. I'm going to do these treatments. And thank God for my life. I have a purpose here in life.
do.
I have a
You
purpose.
absolutely do. Yeah.
And my granddaughter is my special granddaughter. And I have to fight for her. My husband would be okay if something happened to me. He missed me, but my granddaughter needs me.
I won't be
That was just to say, trust me, one needs
My
you.
kids are but my kids, but I'm saying,
Yeah,
you know what
I
I
understand
mean?
what
But
you're saying.
my granddaughter needs me, you know, and God wouldn't have placed her in my home in the midst of this.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying, and that's how you can see. That's why you can look at it. All of this was God's plan. None of this is a surprise to God.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right.
Because God knew that you were feeling down and that you were wavering toward it, and He sent that little angel in there to you.
You know,
to
one
take
of the,
care of.
It's just to hone in on what we're doing here today. Or actually, my wife is doing today.
You're doing this too.
When we were going through this, she kept asking why me, why me, why me. So I finally found it within myself to say, why not you?
And that's what we have to do.
There's a bigger picture. God's going to use you, to advocate to other people. And here she is today. She's been an advocate from day one. She just didn't understand the magnitude that it was having on the population of the world.
Yes.
So this here today is just a testimony to understand the fact that if she had been quiet, if she hadn't said anything, if she had just went into that depression mode and not talked to anybody, there's a lot of people out there that she was able to reach early in her diagnosis. Yeah. That it probably helped them out a tremendous amount. So, shouts out to my wife for having the courage to do this.
Yeah.
But
like I said, you can see the purpose and you can see the plan. Like I said, when He sent that little angel to you, and then you looked at her and said, "I got to stay here," that gave you some more strength. Right. That gave you, because you already had purpose, and now you had more purpose because God gives us what we need when we need it. And you were probably at that point where I just don't know. But then when you saw her, your hope got renewed, your strength got renewed, your determination got renewed again. And because I couldn't be more proud of you. And like I said, there's no way we can cover everything that needs to be covered in this podcast. This time, that's why I say a book.
It's a
in
lot.
This journey.
It's
and
a
like
lot.
I said,
my life has been
my cousin is.
A lot.
I'm going to. All three of us going to get together. We're going to talk about it. There's a book that needs to be written. Because it's a story of triumph. It just absolutely is. It's just absolutely amazing, And I couldn't. And when you agreed to do it, I was so grateful and so thankful that you would do it, because I knew that this was and is going to help so many people. And like I said, some you may never even meet. Right. Because like I said, I got over 9,000 subscribers. I don't know them 9,000 people, but I know they're subscribed to my channel. But they're going to see this. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to see somebody. Because I said, saying 6 degrees of separation. That's right. 6 degrees of separation. You see what I'm saying? Somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. It's going to help them. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? It's all going to be channeled back to you.
Yeah. And well, I appreciate you.
I thank you so much.
It takes a lot out of me. I was so nervous. I didn't know what to do.
You did great.
But I just want the young girls to take care of themselves, because it's happening more in the 30-year-old.
See, yeah.
It used to be 50 and over,
And a
but
lot of people will try to
30.
claim it to our diet, the food that we're eating now, you know, because so much steroids and GMOs and all this other good stuff.
I
that's in
just
there.
don't know.
And you don't know if it's the diet, but like you said, stuff is happening earlier now. I mean, because I didn't think 50 was old, but then a lot of my classmates were not even 50 years old. They had heart attacks and strokes.
And anybody,
You see what I'm saying? I was like, wow.
And then if anybody ever want to talk to me, I'm always, you can inbox me. I don't mind sharing. Like my doctor.
He already been requested to do a part 2, so.
Dr. Bowman, Dr. Bowman is phenomenal. She's in Atlanta. She's Atlanta breast care doctor.
Yeah.
She is a phenomenal doctor.
Yes, she is.
I mean, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't chose her. God led me straight to this lady, and she's so good.
Very competent.
Every one of my doctors have been a female.
Yeah.
One black, one Asian, one white, one Laos or something.
Mm-hmm.
They all different from different
And
backgrounds.
you said with Dr. who?
Dr. Bowman.
Dr. Bowman, shout out to Dr. Bowman. Okay. I forget my son do it all the time. But anyway, shout out to Dr. Bowman for taking care of our cousin and making this story what it is and being part of that. Like I always ask, and you and I talked about this too, when people look at this podcast, what do you want them to walk away saying?
That I want them to walk away saying that anything is possible. I can conquer all through God, and that I want you to walk away knowing that your body is a temple. You got to take care of your body, just like your mind is a temple. You got to take care of your body. Your mind will leave you if you don't take care of your body, because I thought I was losing my mind. And that there's so much resources out there. There's help. If you don't have insurance and you get diagnosed with this horrible disease, ask the people there. Don't be ashamed. Ask them there for help, assistance. I was in there in the cancer center watching people get turned away because they didn't have insurance and they needed care.
Yeah.
I watched them
in this world now?
and then
like some third world country.
Like when you're voting, you need to make sure that person they're gonna be for Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever has to do with medical. Because my chemo, when my insurance kind of changed in the midst of getting another one, my chemo medicine was $2,000 because at that present time I didn't have insurance. Who in the world? And this was just a 21-day supply. Who in the world can afford $2,000 chemo medicine every 21 days? I can't afford. You can't afford that. Yeah. So just when you walk away from here, know that it can happen to anybody. It happened to me. Mm-hmm. Don't think you invincible, because you're not. And if you do develop breast cancer, just accept it and ask God to see you through it. Because I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here to help more people. I'm going to be here to do more. And one day I'm going to have the strength to go walk in Atlanta at some of these breast cancer.
Yeah,
right now, I can't.
We already got that. We claimed it because we're gonna organize a walk for you next year. Yeah. Right, Sabrina?
Yeah.
Right, Sabrina?
Yes.
Yeah, she's all kind. I was about to ready to bring her on. She don't want that.
Yeah. So if you walk today, I just pray that I touch somebody and they're able to tell their daughters or anybody, that a female, male, anybody, and share this. I asked my sons to share my story with their friends, their girlfriends and stuff.
Absolutely. This will be shared on every platform that I got.
Yeah, so
God is
like
good.
I
said, I think this by far will be probably the biggest watched on my YouTube. I've had some 1,000 watches, but I think this is probably gonna blow this thing out of And again, it's not for my podcast, but for what it is that you're doing and what you're advocating.
Right.
I just thought it was a story that needed to be told.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a testimony.
And anything you want to tell,
more, is anything you wanted to say to someone,
especially to guys.
especially to the guys.
Yes, gentlemen, get your yearly exams, get your colonoscopies. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take your manhood. It makes you a stronger man because you understand that that's one thing you don't have to worry about. Get that behind you. Make sure you get it done annually or however often the doctor recommends it. Once you get it done, then they'll put you on a schedule. If your polyps are clear, they'll say, okay, you're not due for another 7 years. You're not due for another 5 years.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow that schedule and go back to continue to get it done.
Yeah, because I had mine done at 50. I had mine done at 55, but they told me to come back in 10 years because my polyps were clear. But like you said, if you don't, I think they want to see you in 5 years. But like I said, by all means, like you said, Warren, please, ma'am, please, sir, take that thing seriously.
Yeah.
Take your health seriously.
And my
Hey,
husband,
Jared Kelly, good to meet you, man. You got to talk pretty soon.
and my husband also, tell guys to be strong. You gotta be strong when you're a woman.
Yes.
Or me, vice versa. If your husband falls sick,
Well,
or if
you and I had this conversation.
gotta
There's
be
nothing
strong.
like knowing that
There's
you got somebody behind you that you
my
can
husband-
count on. You don't have to worry.
right.
Right.
My
Because
husband
they're
took
going to
me-
be there. They're not running away. They're not trying to find a way to cheat their way out of it.
Right.
But they're going to be there with you.
Yeah, my husband,
10 toes down.
he took his vows seriously. He took
Absolutely.
his vows, and it's his duty to take care of me.
Hey, Pastor
He
White,
didn't.
how
He
you
didn't
doing?
want me to go back to work. He said, "See, you don't have to work," but he said, "If it's gonna make you feel better, go to work." Man.
Because he understands
But
that
don't-
at your essence who you are.
Yeah,
Right?
and
That's why. And
Don't-
see, and that's what people don't understand. When you love somebody from their essence as opposed to loving them from a physical, not saying that the physical is not wrong, but when you love somebody from their essence, that's a deep love and that's a
And then,
rare love, and
you know,
it's great to see.
So,
Through the ups and the downs,
Yeah.
the highs, the lows, you got to be there. You have to be there. You have to be supportive. As a man, as a husband, that's what you're supposed to be. Your wife is your primary responsibility. That's your duty to make sure that she's okay with everything and to be there and to be supportive by all means necessary.
Absolutely. And so, if you got anything else, if you don't, like I say, we've already been requested for a part 2. So we'll work on that, depending on where you're, because I know this took a lot out of you, physically and emotionally, and I appreciate you, again, your transparency.
Yeah.
But I do have to announce the winners of the book, because we were giving away a book to one of my cousin, Kenny York Lynch. I'm sorry, because she got married. Lynch. She has a book out, and it's on Amazon, and the comments today we're going to determine the winners are going to get a free autographed copy of her latest book. So I just got to get her the names, and if I had to say, Tona Branch, you're the winner. You get one. Kim Teasley, you'll get one, and anybody else? Anybody else? Let me see. Anybody else? Nobody else. Nobody else commented. Nobody else commented. So LaCecila, I'm gonna get you one because that'll be a great segue so get her to write this book, because like I said, this book is going to be amazing. And like we always say at the end of the show, again, thank you so much, Cecilia.
Right.
So much, Warren. You guys, like I said, if it's a part 2, you guys will be notified. But at the end, like we like to say at the end of every broadcast from the It's a Wrap with Reggie and Sam podcast, Reggie, I don't know where you are. I know you're in Alabama. You left me hanging again. But anyway, we won't talk about it. But anyway, like we always say at the end of it, it's a wrap.
all right.
Thank you.